All right. I was having kind of a quiet week. I was kind of worried that I wouldn't have anything to talk about. So I was having one of those weeks that I think of as quietly productive, where I'm getting work done, there's no drama. Um, it's just like me and a cup of tea and my cat curled up beside me, and I'm just like, la di la, getting things done. And it's really the dream of like, this is what I hoped for when I wanted to be creatively self employed, and it was beautiful, but there's not a lot to say about it. So I was really wondering what I'm going to talk about about this week because I do want to keep showing up. And then this morning I woke up feeling completely not confident. And I know why. This one thing happened where I realized a decision I made, a thing I participated in last year, isn't working out for me the way that I'd hoped. And I'm in a position now where it's starting to cost me a lot more money than I had intended for it to. And it's not a huge deal. Like, I actually figured out what to do to stop that, and it's fine. And when you're in business, you have to take risks. You have to try things, and not everything's going to go the way that you hope it will, and that's okay. And I have this emotional reaction where it triggers this part of me who's afraid that I'm going to make bad choices. I'm going to I'm not ready to be responsible for all of this, and maybe I don't always know the best thing to do, and maybe, navigating by my intuition isn't fail proof. And, most of me trusts myself actually to handle whatever comes at me. And this particular thing that came at me is very small. Like, I'm not in any trouble or anything. It just triggered the fear that what if a big thing happened, and the fear is valid. All of the feelings are valid, even though they're lying. So I've just been sitting with that. The thing, and I shared that book that I'm reading right now called Insight. I shared it in last week's video. And it's all about how we're not as self-aware as we think we are, and we don't really see ourselves as clearly as we think we do. And how the relationship between confidence and having a reason to be confident is like, there's no relationship, right? So you can be super confident or you can be super not confident. That has no bearing on whether or not you should be confident, or whether or not you have the skills to accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to do. So I know, I've been reading about that, and I know, okay, science supports the fact that me not feeling confident doesn't mean anything about my abilities. It's still an uncomfortable feeling to have at times. I actually think that the more heartfelt you are, the more you really care about whatever it is you're doing, the more likely you are to not feel confident, because you care, because you really want to do your best. So you're not just like, oh yeah, I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're really like, oh, am I, like, how can I do the best possible work? Right? So I do think most of us creative people do struggle with confidence at times. And this morning, all I wanted to do was get away from it and work on alchemy. The creative dream alchemy is the art and magic of using what you have to create what you want, or to create the path that leads to where you want to be. And so using what you have means using what you have in the moment. So if it's a lack of confidence, you use that, and you use alchemy to transform it into more of what you want. So if I feel a lack of confidence, I want to transform that into confidence or clarity or joy or whatever. And I love that work. There's this part of me that wants to move through that work as quickly as possible to get to the part where the lack of confidence and the uncomfortable feelings are transformed. When the wiser part of me, and the part of me that understands how these things work, knows that the way through is to actually be with what is there. So you don't transform a lack of confidence by ignoring it. You transform it by really being with it. So that was very uncomfortable, but I took out my journal and started writing about why I didn't feel confident, and I imagine meeting with my non-confident self. And that was kind of cool because the self showed up almost as a ghost or a shell. And I could see that it wasn't really real. Like this isn't, it wasn't holding truth. And so I gave it love. I gave it love, and I, in the form of a heart that was all lit up, and I put it inside this shell, and everything kind of lit up. And this part of me that didn't feel confident actually just disintegrated. So when we have an inner self who's triggered and freaked out about something, sometimes those selves respond like that's where the inner critics come from, and sometimes they respond by trying to push you in some way, only because they think it's going to make you safe, but they don't know how to do that, so they can do it. Like that's where those harsh voices can come from. And a lot of people want to fight against that, and like that's a frightened part of you. So always, for me, always offer love. Have boundaries when you need to, but start by offering love. And the more you do deep inner work, the more stuff like that's going to happen, where it just kind of dissolves and disappears, because you start to recognize what is and is not truth. So the part of me that's terrified, like I'm going to make all these terrible decisions and destroy everything, that part of me isn't true. But what happened after I did that work was that I could see the truth more clearly. And so there's all these things kind of, if my lack of confidence is here and the main issue is here, they're kind of orbiting around it. And these are these uncomfortable little questions and uncomfortable little ideas about maybe you're kind of off about this, and maybe this needs to change, and that kind of thing. And it's not about making mistakes and fixing them, but it's about how we're always growing and evolving. And it's like I was able to receive the truth from the lack of confidence, and the truth was these little messages of, here are little ways I do need to change what I'm doing. So it's not that I shouldn't be confident in myself, but I shouldn't be confident in some of these approaches that I'm taking. So I hope you can see the difference there, because that's liberating, right? So then I could see, oh, I need to do this differently, and I need to do this differently. And I'm talking about little things in my business. This week I'm especially exploring social media, because the landscape has changed a lot. And so I do want to change what I'm doing. Also, I've changed. So I want to change some things, but I don't know exactly what, and it's all felt very cloudy, right? So this process really helped me get more clear where here are the things that need to change. These are decisions and things you're doing that you shouldn't feel super confident about because they're not right for you anymore. So being able to receive that information, like that's concrete stuff that I can do something with, and then it helps me feel more excited and happier about what I'm doing. So that's the gift of not feeling confident and being willing to look at it. I always think not feeling confident is a gift, like there's always something in there. You know, a lot of the time I'm not confident about a specific thing I'm doing because it's not right. Like there's a part of me saying, okay, I think I'm done, and then I feel unconfident because there's another part of me saying, no, you need to redo this, you need to change this, you need to change that. That's the creative process. My personal creative process is to do things over and over and over, and each time refining them. When I was in university, I studied fashion design, and I had a really hard time, especially the first couple years, because the pace was so fast and we're being pushed so hard. And my creative process needed more space, and there wasn't space there. And I was too young to understand what I needed. Right? So there were a few times, there were almost through flukes, that I had the space I need, and I did really great work, and I won some awards, and I did all this great stuff. But then there's like the bulk of the work that I did wasn't very good. I was never happy with it because I didn't understand yet, because I didn't have the space I needed for my own creative process. I couldn't do things, notice how they feel, take that feedback, and then use it to refine as I go. So now I know that about myself, and I understand when I don't feel confident about something. Don't ignore that. Don't push it away, but actually look, oh, okay, like what would help me feel better about it? Like um, what's going on here? And it's usually something small. So it's like our emotional reaction to not feeling confident is this big thing, when really the message that the lack of confidence is trying to send is usually kind of a small thing. So that's where I am right now, just being happy about not feeling confident all of the time. And I'm going to take all of those little things that my lack of confidence asked me to look at and change, and make a page for each of them in my journal so that I can give each of them some space to really explore those ideas and look at how I want to implement them. So that's where I'm at. See you back here next week.